with Hinduism and his tussle with Mahatma Gandhi.
Gandhiji understood Ambedkar's pain. He understood Gandhiji's agony, no doubt about it. I mean, he said, it is there in my film, that you are born untouchable, but I adopted myself as untouchable.
Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar was now a voice India couldn't ignore. From within the freedom struggle, he was attempting to carve out a political relevance for the Dalits. For him, it was the only way to emancipate India's 16 million outcasts. Ambedkar's decision to accept an invitation to the Round Table Conference in London greatly angered the Congress. The party called him a British stooge. And so, the stage was set for a confrontation between two champions of the downtrodden, Gandhi and Ambedkar.
While their goal was similar, their methods were somewhat different. Ambedkar was more radical, more confrontationist. He wanted to take the Dalits outside the Hindu fold. Gandhi thought that by abolishing untouchability, by giving Dalits greater political opportunities, Hinduism could be saved. But despite their differences, I think in retrospect, they should be seen as co-workers.
The British announced the Communal Awards for Dalits in 1932, granting separate electorates and seat representation to minority communities. An upset Gandhi announced his resistance with a fast unto death at Pune's Yerwada jail.
As the fast grew and Gandhiji started losing his health, everybody started requesting Dr. Ambedkar, and Dr. Ambedkar said, okay, I'll consider. And that is how the negotiation took place, and finally the Pune Pact has come out in the whole thing. But in this you will find Gandhiji understood Ambedkar's pain. He understood Gandhiji's agony, no doubt about it. I mean, he said, it is there in my film, that you are born untouchable, but I adopted myself as untouchable.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
On 15th August 1947, as India finally awoke to freedom, the earlier bitterness between the two stalwarts was now matched by maturity and wisdom. It was Gandhi who recommended Ambedkar's name as India's first law minister. As law minister, Dr. Ambedkar chaired the drafting committee, whose onerous task was to give a complex India her constitution. The boy who was once refused admission in school because of his caste was destined to write India's Bible of governance.
Our difficulty, as I said, is not about the ultimate future. Our difficulty is how to make the heterogeneous mess that we have today take a decision in common and march in a cooperative way on that road which is bound to lead us to unity.
On November 26, 1949, India got her constitution. A reflection of Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar's faith in democracy and social justice. Regarded as one of the finest in the world, it banned untouchability in India. Justice, liberty and equality became every Indian's fundamental right. The universality of his ideas were visible in other spheres as well.
His politics was always inclusive. His policies were always inclusive. You can look at his work in this Labour government, interim government in 1942. For example, minimum wages he was asking for everybody. Good life conditions, working conditions for laborers, he was asking for everybody. Maternity leave for women, he was asking for every woman, not simply for Dalit women. So I think his imagination is universal and politics is inclusive in character.
Dr. Ambedkar was getting old now, but the hunt for challenges continued. The violin was one such new passion.
बाबा साहब दिल्ली से यहाँ बम्बई में आते थे तो उनको खास बुलावा भेजते थे कि भाई हमारे पास चले आइए, अब हम आ गए हैं, हमें अपनी तालीम आगे चालू रखनी है। तो उनके पास कितनी भी बड़ी हस्तियाँ बैठी हो उनको वो बोल देते थे, अभी हमारे गुरुजी आ गए हैं, अब आपके लिए समय हम अभी नहीं देंगे, उनका काम खत्म होने तक आपको बाहर बैठना होगा। बाबा साहब बड़े सेंटिमेंटल थे, उनके मन में क्या था पता नहीं है, उनके मन में कुछ, किसी ने बताया कि कुछ दुख था, और वायलिन के जो सुर है वो उनको एक किस्म की तसल्ली देते थे।
The sadness perhaps came from losing his wife Ramabai and 4 of his sons at a young age. In 1948, at the age of 57, Baba Sahib remarried. His wife, Dr. Sharda Kabir, was a Brahmin. The New York Times described the wedding as more significant than a commoner marrying into royalty. But Dr. Ambedkar wasn't done yet. He began drafting the Hindu Code Bill, aiming to grant women greater legal rights in the country. But his efforts to reorganize the framework of Hindu society were short-lived. The bill aroused bitter controversy and was abandoned by Prime Minister Nehru. Ambedkar quit the Union Cabinet in disgust in 1951. What he did next shook the very foundations of Hinduism. On 14th October 1956, Dr. Ambedkar reached the Diksha Bhumi in Nagpur, accompanied by his wife. With lakhs of supporters as witness, Baba Sahib renounced Hinduism to embrace the path of Buddha. 4 lakh of his followers converted with him that day. Two months later, Baba Sahib Ambedkar passed away at the age of 65. Five decades later, Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ambedkar's legacy is more relevant than ever, leaving an impact deeper than many imagined. It's a testimony to why India counts him as one of its greatest ever.